All right. Good evening, Real Money Coach family. It is Thursday. It is 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which means it is Real Money Coach time. Listen, I am really excited that we are here and we have a great show for you tonight. We got a great guest. And, I'm just so humbled and so amazed at God, how he just keeps bringing these wonderful guests on our show and sharing so much knowledge and wisdom, and I learn a lot, and I know you guys learn a lot, and so it's really just kind of awesome. And we're in the fall of the year, and fall of the year means a couple things. One, it's football season, and so I'm excited about that. Go Panthers. We're down here in North Carolina. The Panthers are doing well. I don't know what they're doing tonight. I don't know if the game has started or not, but the Panthers are doing well. And so, yeah, put in the chat box. This is what I want you to do. I want you to put in the chat box. I want you to put what city you're watching from. And maybe we just ought to put in who's your team. Who's your team? Who's the team that you root for? Football season. Who's your team? Listen, my team is the Panthers, right? Ruth Bell is here. Good to have you, Ruth. Good to have you here as always. And then there's Dr. Benita Harris. She is here. Now, if you don't care nothing about football, you don't even have to put anything in here. Brad Hudson from Huntersville, all the way from Huntersville. I know Brad. Brad is a Massachusetts man, right? So he must like the Patriots. I think he likes the Patriots. I used to like the Patriots. I don't know about the Patriots anymore. I might have to go with Tampa Bay. I don't know. It's because they got a Michigan man playing down there, Chad. So, and we're Michigan fans, so we follow the Michigan faithful. I'm from Michigan, as y'all know already, down here in the Queen City. Look, but Dr. Benita Harris says the Panthers and the Chiefs. Like that. Ruth Bell said, I like the Panthers. She said, I'm going for the hometown team. Love it. Listen, we are in the fall of the year, approaching the final quarter of the year. And I can't believe we're almost into fourth quarter of 2021. Wow, where did the time go? Seems like it just really just flew by. And so many things are going on. We thought we'd be out of this whole thing called COVID, and we got these other variants going on and all this type of stuff. And I think my good friend Michelle, who's going to be joining me here in a second, I think it was her. She said, COVID's the new norm. We just got to learn how to live in this situation we're in this environment we're in, and just keep it moving. Do the precautions, get vaccinated, get your shot, wear your mask, all that. And I know a lot of people out there may not agree with some of those things. And I get it. But for me in my house, man, listen, we're going to put the mask on. We're going to be protected. We're going to do all that we can to make sure that we're safe. So, whatever your decision is your decision. We don't hold that against you or for you or whatever. We just are happy to be alive and to be on the Real Money Coach tonight. So with that being said, let me bring on my co-host, Miss Michelle Mitchell from Mitchell. Dr. Benita says she's wearing hers from Mitchell Consulting. Come on, Michelle. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Good evening.
Good. Michelle, you got your hair looking up. I mean, I don't know, is that a wash and go? I don't know what's going on, but
it's the natural me. That's what that is.
It's the natural me, right? Love it. How you doing?
Doing good.
Good. How's your week been?
My week has been busy.
It's been busy.
It's been busy.
Well, tell me about Tuesday. Last week, you told us that you had a workshop going on.
Yeah.
It was going to take place on Tuesday. So tell us a little bit. Give us the highlights. How'd it go?
Yeah, the workshop went really well. We had quite a few attendees, and we talked about when you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, how you need to shift your mindset from being that employee, because that's what we all know, to being the CEO. And as the CEO of your business, you also have to be the CFO. So that means the money, right? So you got to get the money right.
You got to get the money right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So Tuesday, I launched my program that I wrote the curriculum for based on the needs of the people that I encounter. It is called Begin with Profit, and it is a 90-day money course, basically, to get your business and your life in order financially so that your business can create profit.
That's what it's all about. Because if it
Yep.
don't make money, it don't
It
make
don't make
sense.
sense. That's
Yeah,
right.
you know, that's my line. I love that line. That's
Yep.
pretty awesome. Because I think so often we don't operate as CEO and CFO. And we really need to do that. We really need to be looking at the bottom line. I was working with a business owner in California this week. And as we presented the questionnaire, financial needs analysis questionnaire. As we went through that, she there's a place where you make comments at the end. She says, I don't know the answer to a lot of these questions. And that's disturbing. That's disturbing.
It is
And
disturbing.
so, it's really, really important that we do that. And so if any of you are out there and if you want that free financial analysis, just go to myfinancialanalysis.com. You can complete that. It'll come to me. We can set an appointment, go over it. No obligation, no cost. But it's always getting a snapshot of where you are.
Right.
Because if you don't know where you are, then how do you know where you're going?
Exactly.
You know, and so it's a bitter pill sometimes, but we got to
really
where we are.
Yeah, I talked about that in the workshop on Tuesday, that, we go through these stages in life. Like it's almost the beginning of Q4, and then we'll be thinking about our next year goals and things like that. But if you don't have a vision for where you're going, how can you create a goal to get there?
Right. It starts with a vision.
It starts with a vision. Absolutely.
Right.
And then you can create the goals and then the action steps and all that. And then that's what makes it come to life, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So people love to do vision boards, and all these type of things. But you got to get that vision, and then you got to turn that vision into goals, and then those goals into tasks and all those type of things, so that you really can get to where you want to be.
Right.
And so, but you're right. I mean, if you don't have a vision for where you want your business to go, you don't have a vision where you want your personal life to go, you're just kind of wandering aimlessly.
Exactly. You're just wandering around and like trying to figure out, like, how did I get here?
Right. Right.
It's just like your money. You got to tell your life where to go the same way you tell your money where to go. Right.
So, and I said this earlier. On, I don't know if it was an individual meeting or what, somewhere, but basically, if you don't tell your money where to go, you'll be asking it where it went. Exactly. Right. It's like, where'd that go? I mean, at the end of the year, you look at it, wow, I made all this money, but where'd it go?
Yeah, exactly.
Where'd it go? And so, well, kudos to you continuing doing what you're doing, especially with women entrepreneurs and helping them to go from passion to profit. Yeah. I know that's the book that's in you that's coming.
Right.
So I'm just claiming that. Hey, Michelle, I finished my entire manuscript. It's now in the editing process. And so we're going to be ready to launch the book in the book tour.
Congratulations.
So probably stay tuned, folks. We're going to have a book launch meeting with the editor and publisher tomorrow. So we'll look at some dates and then see what's going on. I'm excited about it. So it's been a long time coming.
Well, I didn't hear that from my friend yesterday, but hey, maybe you worked a lot last night. I don't know.
Michelle, I did. This is so funny. I didn't realize this, but someone told me you worked 13 hours today. I was like, did I? And I guess I did. So anyway, but tonight, listen, as soon as this show's over, you know what I'm doing? I'm gonna watch the rest of the game. I'm gonna watch the rest of the game, right? I'm gonna watch the Panthers.
I know.
So listen, thank you, Chris, for posting that in there. myfinancialanalysis.com. If you go there, what you'll find is you'll put some information in about you personally. You'll rank your financial goals and some other things, and then we can start to unpack that in a private appointment that won't cost you anything at all. So listen, Michelle, we got a really special guest tonight.
Yes.
Gentleman who is, I call him the money man, right? I called him the money man earlier, but he is the CEO of the Carolinas Development Foundation, small businesses, and used to be here in Charlotte with the economic department, I think at the county. He'll unpack all that for us. But I know he's originally from Brooklyn, New York, by way of New Jersey, and now I think he's over in the Raleigh-Durham area. But without any further ado, let's bring on our guest tonight, Mr. Kevin Dick.
Good evening. How's
it? Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I can't complain. I'm with the real money coach. I mean, what do you want me to tell you?
Well, man, it's good to have you. One of the things that we do, and we talk about the acronym REAL, and real money coach means that we're going to bring relevant information. We're going to bring educational information. We're going to bring information people can act on, and we want to bring life-changing information. And you fit that bill, man. You fit that bill in terms of, from what I know of your life work that you've been doing. And so I want you to just kind of share a little bit about who you are and kind of what your career path has led you to what you're doing now.
Well, look, after an intro like that, this better be good. So, but thank you, Tony. Thank you, Michelle, for having me this evening and providing the opportunity for me to represent the Carolina Small Business Development Fund, an organization that I'm very proud to lead and very proud to share with some great teammates and a great board. So, I started with the Carolina Small Business Development Fund in February of 2020. And so it's been about 19 months. But prior, I will talk mostly about what we have going on in Carolina Small Business. But just by way of brief background, like you said, born in Brooklyn, New Jersey, born in Brooklyn, New York, grew up in Montclair, New Jersey. I'm a first-generation American. My parents, my siblings were all born in Trinidad and Tobago. So I wear that very proudly. I think it has had a profound impact on who I am and who I've become as a husband, a father, and as a person. So Montclair is probably about 30 minutes from Manhattan, for anybody's reference. So the New York, New Jersey connection is very strong there. But had the opportunity to attend undergraduate school at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., completed my master's degree at Florida Atlantic University, and also have a certification in economic development from the International Economic Development Council. So, but I think, more importantly than any of that, personal and professional passion is just really in equity and equitable economic development, making sure that what the wealth that is generated in cities and towns and counties and states is as equitable as possible in terms of how different individuals, different groups, particularly people of color, women, people that maybe identify as low to moderate income, how those people can share in the largesse, really the wealth that is generated in communities. That's really important to me. I think there are ways for it to happen. And really it's about having access meet opportunity, but also, making sure that people are empowered to pursue those opportunities. So that's really at the core of my belief system. I spent most of my career in local government, but before that, I worked in marketing and sales for 3 years. And so I worked in marketing in New Jersey, and in sales in Delaware, and I was in the wines and spirits industry, otherwise known as the liquor industry. Why is that significant? Because my first job out of college was doing marketing for a liquor importer, and I was the one Black person on a 7-person marketing team. And so I was assigned to be, air quotes, the urban market rep, we probably have an idea of what that means, that I was going to be working in a lot of Black communities. And so I did that for 2 years and then got promoted to a sales position in Delaware. And quite honestly, over the course of those 3 years, what I found was that in a lot of the communities where I had accounts, people were struggling. We had, but I saw vacant lots and, buildings with busted out glass and, all kinds of unspeakable things and vacant lots and vacant properties. But what I envisioned, you just talked about vision, Michelle, and I found that to be so poignant. And it reminded me that what I envisioned was training centers, places where people could work, shopping centers, places of industry, small light manufacturing, all kinds of things that really would bolster commerce in an area. I saw those things amidst all of the destruction and degradation in these communities. And so I really thought about, how could I take some things that I'm passionate and have become, relatively good at in terms of marketing and sales, and how can I apply those skill sets to actually doing more to help my communities than what I'm doing. So a friend of mine saw that I was struggling with that and brought me an article on something called Community and Economic Development. Now, I know I'm guessing that you two, if I mention the show Family Ties, you'll remember the show that I'm talking about, right? Michael J. Fox. And so I used to watch that show in the 80s, and my objective was to be the Black Alex P. Keaton. I knew I wanted to do something in business, do something very corporate. And so, I knew what I was going to major in 8th grade, and I ended up majoring in international business, and I knew that from 8th grade. But I went into marketing and sales. So when I read an article about community and economic development, I had no idea what that meant. And I said, I read it. I said, but this is what I want to do. And I think it's going to afford me the opportunity to really build upon skill sets that I have, but for the betterment of communities. And so a few weeks went by. I said, yeah, community and economic development. And then I said, well, how do I start? Like, how do I go about getting the skills, the contacts, the connections in order to pursue this? And so my friend brings me another article. And she said, if you want to do community and economic development, you either need to get a master's in public administration or urban and regional planning. And so like anybody does when they make a really critical career decision, I looked at those two potential majors and I said, what sounds more cool? What sounds more regional planning, right? And so I ended up getting a degree in urban and regional planning, moved down to Fort Lauderdale. So by the way, if you all haven't heard, because you all are from Michigan. So if you don't know, anyone who starts in the Northeast, who moves to Florida and moves to North Carolina, in North Carolina parlance, since y'all were just talking about football, is a halfback. So I moved from the top to the bottom and halfway back, which makes me happy.
Got it.
But before coming to North Carolina, I actually had a family circumstance. My father passed away down there sort of suddenly. My parents had retired there. So I went down to hang out with mom. And it worked out because, I was able to get a fellowship to Florida Atlantic University and study there in Fort Lauderdale. Thought I was just going to be transitioning my mother to a re-retirement in Trinidad and Tobago. And I ended up hanging out there for 9 years. And I started my career in local government and urban planning, really gained a strong interest in workforce development, how people were trained and prepared to get employment, so that we could help build wealth in these communities, right? So I worked for a small city government. Then I worked for a workforce development board, helping to design and administer employment and training programs. And then decided to moved to North Carolina and did some consulting here for a while. Landed with the city of Durham. Ended up being there for 10 years. And at the time, that was the longest I had ever held down a job, right? So was there for 10 years and really got a really great, that was just a great experience. Really had an opportunity to work in employment and training and then learn more about economic development because I started to have a passion for saying, all right, I understand the programs that train people to work, and I understand the systems that can get people from those training programs into jobs. But how do the jobs get created? How does the wealth get built that really, connects people or enables companies to have the wherewithal to hire people? And that's really found in economic development. So I learned about that more. I had a great boss there. Shout out to Alan Delisle. Now he's in St. Petersburg. But he really exposed me to economic development and to the degree that I worked there during the Great Recession when jobs and folks looking for work was a really critical thing, right? There's a lot of economic contraction. And so I was able to work for the department for 2 years and then get promoted to being the director of economic and workforce development and really have the opportunity to be at the table with companies who were being recruited or retained and helping to create the jobs. And then also having myself and a team at the table to help put local residents into those jobs. So that was, really a very fulfilling challenge. And there were challenges. It's not as simple as just programs and initiatives, right? You have to have policy. You have to really shape the way the locality does business in order to have systems in place to create this. So that's what we worked on a lot in Durham. Very gratified about the work that we got down there, got done there, and decided to sort of expand horizons and take a role with the city of Charlotte in 2016. So served as assistant director of neighborhood and business services and then deputy economic development director. Charlotte, bigger canvas to paint this sort of equity picture. Was able to do that for 4 years. Was able to work on some workforce and neighborhood and economic development initiatives there. And then, jumped at the chance to apply for this role at Carolina Small Business Development Fund when it became available. And I had really started to gain a passion also for small business growth and capacity building with small businesses. And so, I really wanted to bring kind of the economic development and community development background that I had to this role and then learn about lending, learn about getting capital into the hands of small businesses. You all just said really something very poignant when I was backstage, really talking about, not knowing if you don't know or if you're not telling your money where it needs to go, you'll be asking where it went. And so one of the things that we do at Carolina Small Business Development Fund is really concentrate on 3 important pillars. So there is the small business lending and financial assistance. There is the technical assistance. That's so key. You have the money, now what? Do you know what to do with it? Do you know how to manage it? Do you know what sort of operational processes and procedures and tools you need to invest in? And do you know how to find low-cost capital? Because pretty much any legal business at some time, if it's going to scale, it's going to need debt capital. I know a lot of people in this, where we are right now, we had the CARES Act last year. We have the American Rescue Plan. There's tons of money coming to local governments. And sometimes what they do is use that money to provide grants to small businesses. And that, and actually our organization expanded its repertoire in 2020 to include administering those types of programs for municipalities. So we are quite aware that sometimes there's free money on the street. Guess what? That's not going to last forever. And so,
Right.
and so I think it's so important that I say on a show like this, where you're talking about coaching people in the ways of real money, they need to understand low cost capital, getting credit scores where they need to be, managing that capital once it comes in the door. All of those things are so critical. So, but I jumped into this role in February 2020. A month later, I looked around the office and said, "Where did everybody go?" You know.
You know what, I was thinking of that, Kevin, when you
Right.
said, and you guys, audience, I'm sorry, there's something really going on with my mic, but when you said that you went there in February 2020, I was like, man, that's right at the beginning of COVID.
Sure was.
And so what a time to be going into that type of role. And I'm glad you brought up a couple things. One, if we're concerned about the economic and the racial wealth gap, right, that exists in America, and you talked about that, how you saw that in our communities. And so often what we hear is that we don't have access to capital. Even when you talk about the CARES Act and the stimulus packages, and we've talked a lot about that on our show, that, you know, that first round of PPP money, I mean, 95% of that money, or Black businesses did not get any of that because they weren't prepared. They weren't prepared from a financial standpoint in terms of having their records, having banking relationships, and all those types of things. But I am concerned about that too, because we have so much free money that has been floating out because of these acts, that when that money goes away, are you going to be in a position where your business can sustain and be able to survive without it? Because it is eventually going to dry up.
Yes.
That's right. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And everything you said was spot on. One thing I would add is that the decades of a lack of access to capital, and sometimes either governmentally or even privately, you know, many times, and what I didn't realize until the last few years is how formalized and legislated disparate access to capital and access to resources were. In other words, you're Black, you're brown, you can't get a mortgage. If you're a woman, you can't even you have to have a cosigner. Up until the 1970s, I don't know how many people know this, but up until the 1970s, a woman had to have a cosigner, which had to be her husband, her husband, in order to get a mortgage.
Man, that is crazy. I did not know that. I did not know that.
I knew that. I knew that in the 70s.
That's right.
Wow.
And then you had situations, quick scenario story, right? End of World War II. You have something called the GI Bill. You all heard of the GI Bill.
Right.
GI Bill only went to white soldiers.
Right. I knew that.
The time people used the GI Bill to do what? Now they came home. Now, 1945 was the start of what? The baby boomer generation, right?
Right.
You had GIs coming home, and families were growing. People having kids left and right.
Right.
So, take the white GI and the Black GI. They each come home from war. Maybe each of them are married, right? The white GI can get the GI Bill. Let's say that the white GI lives in New York, okay? The Black GI lives in Philadelphia. There's some significance of those two cities, right? Because outside of each of those cities, there was a developer by the last name of Levitt. And Levitt was he did massive residential development, and Levitt was able to obtain a 0% interest loan from the federal government to build massive suburban housing developments. I mean, this is really, to some extent, the true burgeoning of the term suburb, right? Because you had so many people in places like New York or Philadelphia or Detroit,
right,
that were in the cities. You know, Detroit, this is an aside, Detroit had more people in 1950, like 3 times as many people in 1950 as it does now. That's amazing.
Right. That's crazy. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah.
But anyway, all of these people were concentrated in cities. So this developer, Levitt, he said, yeah, people don't want to be in these apartment buildings anymore in congested places. We're going to build these homes so that these young families can have their starter home. And we'll make all of the homes exactly the same. So we get economies of scale from building. So you just, you build these subdivisions.
It's almost like the factory thing. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's factory, more or less factory built housing, right? So the white GI comes home to New York, comes home to the Bronx, finds out about this Levittown development in Levittown, Long Island, and says, I'm going to move my family out there because we're about to start having kids, and I'm going to get a job in Long Island, and I'll commute to the city and what have you. And so Levitt is able to provide a really low mortgage because he's got 0% financing on a couple of conditions. Guess what one of the conditions is? You cannot sell a house or a lot to a black person.
Yep.
Otherwise, the U.S. government will not grant Levitt the 0% financing, thereby making it cheap for the white GI to buy the home. What is the number one? This is the real money coach. This is an easy answer for you guys. What is the number one wealth building vehicle in this country?
Your personal residence, real estate. Real estate.
Bingo.
Absolutely.
So when you buy a home and you're buying it at near 0% financing, how quick does it take you to gain equity?
Right.
Very quick. And that's still the disparity that we happen today, because there's a home ownership in the white community is about 72%. The black community is like about 43. There was a big gap between home ownership. And we know that there's certain things about owning your own home, the equity that you develop from that. That's where most people's wealth is tied in two places, right? Either their retirement account through the 401k, and that goes back to having a livable wage and all those types of things that we still have disparities in. And it's very interesting. I'm glad you brought that out, because you brought some things out that I didn't realize before and gave us a real quick history on that. Is that we talk about, and I say this a lot, we talk about systematic racism, and it's a real thing that a lot of people say, well, slavery was a long time ago, but these laws and things that were in place, they've been in place. It wasn't that long ago. I'm talking about my dad was a World War II vet, right? That's one generation ago. And you're talking about these type of things that you're sharing, and it's so important, and it causes that gap to just continue to widen.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry to
go ahead.
Well, because the laws weren't, there wasn't a recognition, there were some, quote unquote solutions that basically meant, so in the 60s, they tried something called urban renewal. Oh, we'll invent these, large apartment buildings. That's where people of color want to go anyway, right? And, we'll have this really, condensed housing. But going back to the example of these GIs, now the black guys the black GIs in Philly, there's a Levittown development outside Philadelphia too, because this same developer got 0% financing to build that one too, but he can't sell it to the black GI. So if the black GI is going to go gain wealth through property ownership, guess what? It's already starting at a deficit, because even if he can afford the down payment for a home, he's going to be paying cash. So he's going to be saving all of this money that can't go anywhere else in order to buy a home. More than likely, he can't buy the home. And he'll stay in congested situations, paying rent, not gaining wealth, and then contributing to these quote unquote urban renewal programs of the 60s. So, but fast forward from the 40s to a generation. You said your dad was a World War II vet, right?
Right.
So now take the son of the white GI, say in the 60s. They've grown up in that house. The house might be fully paid for. There's equity. Let's say that the son of white GI maybe wants to go to college, wants to start a business, he's got dad that can write him the check, because now he has equity. He's got he got a retirement plan from an employer that may have racially discriminated anyway. So, may or may not. I'm not going to make that assumption. However, there's all this equity. And like, what did you just say? Most of your wealth is in your property or a 401k or a pension. So
right.
if there were certain jobs, and we know coming back from World War II, not all Black GIs were able to obtain any kind of job. Menial jobs without a pension. You've now missed out on two massive opportunities to gain wealth.
Yes.
You can't maybe that Black GI son can't necessarily write a check to his son to start a business. So now you talk about the disparity that started in housing, which has now permeated into business ownership.
Employment.
Right.
And business.
And education.
And education. Absolutely.
Couple of numbers I'll hit you with, right? Here's a couple of significant numbers. During the start of the global pandemic, between February 2020 and April of 2020, anyone want to venture a guess in terms of the percentage of white-owned small businesses that had to shut down?
Oh, the percentage of white-owned businesses that had to shut down?
Right, small businesses.
Ooh. Man, I wouldn't have a venture guess on that one, but I would guess Black-owned businesses probably 45% or more.
All right, so
I'm just doing a wild guess.
You cheated. You went to the end of the book. So Black-owned small businesses is 41%, very close.
Wow.
Hispanic-owned small businesses 32%.
Wow.
Asian or AAPI businesses about 25%. White-owned small businesses 17%. All of those percentages are pretty significant. Even amongst white-owned small businesses, you're talking about 1 in every 5. But with Black-owned, you're talking about 2.5 times the rate of closure. Here's another stat. The top 1% of wealth in this country either directly owns or has some sort of ownership stake in a business. So let's get nuts. If people have been systematically denied the opportunities to gain wealth that enable them to have the equity to start businesses, and they've had a difficult time, because before, Tony, you talked about PPP access, and most businesses weren't ready. Here was the other key thing. They lacked social capital. They were never allowed to open bank accounts unless they were in Black-owned banks, which collapsed, shrunk significantly around the time of the Great Recession. So they were not allowed to open bank accounts. Therefore, they didn't have banking relationships.
Right.
So they lacked the social capital to obtain PPP as well. So this is why it's systematic. Because so when people say, well, slavery was a long time ago, right? Yeah, but here's the remnants of the
we're still dealing with.
Continue.
Kevin,
so,
what you're saying is so significant, and I think a lot of times we miss it. We miss these things because it's like, we're just kind of oblivious to it. Yeah. And I'm glad you're bringing some of these out. I do want to get to one guest question here, and then what I want to do is, I think we did a really good job of unpacking, and we've unpacked this thing. We know what we're dealing with. So I want to pose a question that Tony Mitchell put on. He says, what should small governments be doing to provide small businesses, local governments providing to small businesses, micro businesses, those types of things? And I think that's a great lead-in question to what are the types of things that the Carolina Small Business Development Fund is doing, and other funds like that, maybe throughout the country, because we got people watching from other parts other than North Carolina. But tell us what you guys are doing and what can be done to help remedy some of this, because we know that we got the problem.
Right.
I mean, let's not deny that it's a problem.
Right.
And so the first thing for any cure is to recognize that I got a problem. Now let's talk about how do we cure it?
So, great question, Mr. Mitchell. So, first of all, Carolina Small Business Development Fund is one of 1,100 types of organizations like ours around the country. We are what's called a Community Development Financial Institution, or CDFI. And what CDFIs do is basically help remedy some of the systematic racism that I talked about before. So another element of that systematic racism is that banks did not lend in certain underserved communities. They didn't lend to underserved groups, and they didn't necessarily lend in underserved geographies. So in 1977, there was a law passed called the Community Reinvestment Act, and it said that banks now have to start to invest a certain percentage of assets in these communities. Here's the problem. If you walk into a large commercial bank, and you want a $200,000 loan, often that bank is not going to service that loan. They're not going to provide you that loan because it costs them the same amount of money to do a $5 million loan as it does a $200,000 loan. So it's not really profitable. But they've got to comply with this law. So the CDFI comes in and says, all right, we will borrow money from banks, and then we will relend it into the community in smaller tranches. And it's with Carolina Small Business, we do loans between $5,000 and $250,000, generally speaking. And we have relationships with a lot of major banks, philanthropic organizations. Get to Mr. Mitchell's question. Local governments are now largely getting allocations from the American Rescue Plan, right? So local governments can allot some of that money for small business growth. Here's the thing. I've worked for 4 local government organizations, 3 city governments, and I haven't worked for one economic development department that could deploy the types of grants and loans at the volume and the speed that the pandemic forced businesses.
Got it.
A lot of businesses only had 30 days of payroll on hand.
Right.
Right.
If they had that.
Well, and then, the SBA couldn't even keep up with it.
No,
the SBA couldn't even keep up with it.
Absolutely. So
and 18 months later, the SBA is still behind.
Well, I mean, and see, these are the things. So local governments, some local governments in North Carolina started doing last year was trying to make up for, the SBA needed some time to get PPP and EIDL rolling, right? And so Mecklenburg County, I'll use some examples. Mecklenburg County, City of Raleigh, Durham City and County. Carolina Small Business Development Fund, worked with all of those organizations to sort of be extensions of their economic development departments and administer grant and loan programs that were designed to get money in small tranches, but out to businesses quickly so that they could at least survive the pandemic. So one key thing local governments can do is that they can recognize that, number one, when you look at the character of a community, that small businesses, that local barbershop, that soul food spot, the pizza joint, ice cream place where you want to take your kids. These are the things that define community. And the local governments that are understanding how vital small businesses are to their ecosystems and to really the sense of community and character, they will try to provide aid. But it's not just about the money. Again, it's the technical assistance.
Yes, the technical assistance. Absolutely. Absolutely. The bookkeeping, the accounting, the technical things.
That's right.
I want to ask a couple questions, Kevin. Number one is I think Antonio's question was spot on. What can the governments do? But I want to break that down. I want to ask the other question I want to ask is what can we as citizens and taxpayers do to hold the local governments accountable to make sure that these things are being done?
There's often a lot of attention when it's election time. There's often a lot of attention, especially when it's a presidential election year. You always know the voter turnout is higher in years when there's presidential elections. One way that residents and citizens can hold governments accountable is vote. And don't just care about the election, the year of the presidential election. Look, if you want to shape policy at the local level, you've got to vote in local elections. You have to vote in state elections. I don't know if a lot of people know this. In 2019, so there was so much, whatever side of the political fence you sit on, I mean, it's undeniable that the last presidential administration was there's a lot of talk about it, right? There was a lot of news constantly about Trump administration. Again, doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you sit on. Do you know that North Carolina did not have a state budget? There was no state budget passed in 2019. North Carolina passes biennial budgets. They pass a budget every other year. Because of all of the attention on DC, a lot of people in North Carolina weren't paying attention to what was going on in Raleigh. They didn't know that the governor vetoed the budget in 2019, based upon a lack of teacher raises and a lack of Medicare expansion.
Right.
So those were the two main reasons cited. But I mean, so people didn't even know that. Like, that's an example of a lot of these government, programs for small businesses, they're either now with the CARES Act, all of that went through the state and it went through very large cities. So large cities got called entitlement cities. They got their direct. So City of Charlotte got a direct tranche of money for the CARES Act. Big counties like Mecklenburg, Wake County, they got direct allocations. Now with the American Rescue Plan, that's expanding. It's going down to even more smaller cities, and they can use the money for small business help, but the American Rescue Plan lasts 3 years. Those monies expire in 24. The CARES Act it was supposed to expire last December, and it got extended 1 year. So, again, regardless of the political side you sit on, what are we still doing when we walk into establishments, or what are some of us doing? We're wearing masks. The pandemic is not over.
Right.
And there's a recognition of, with the American Rescue Plan, that this thing is going to take a while for businesses to come back where they were. You can hear projections saying that small businesses will not come back normal until 2024.
Right. And it then because there's so much and then with the quantitative easement and the printing of money, and we're looking at a stock market that appears to be booming, but there's no substantial wealth that's backing that up.
Right.
And it's like, it's like you're waiting for this balloon to pop. And so that's going to have a whole nother economic impact on and then with the foreclosure and the eviction moratorium running out, I mean, all these things are going to have some impact on our economy that's going to make it harder for business to come back. I love what LaPronda said. LaPronda said, listen, she said, we need to raise holy heck, right? Raise holy heck. And I love what Timothy Day, because he just said, we need to be present. We need to be present at the commissioner meetings. We need to be present at the city council meetings, the planning boards. We need to be visible and we need to be heard.
That's right.
We need to be visible. We need to be heard.
Paying attention.
We right?
need to be paying attention. Yeah.
And one of the things you said a few minutes ago was about the CRA Act, right? The Community Reinvestment Act. And that's been around for a long time. But we know that under the previous administration, they didn't enforce it. I mean, there wasn't a lot of enforcement of some of these things that were happening. And you said something about how you guys can come in and help because after all, I'm sitting here in Charlotte, the largest banking center outside of New York City.
That's right.
And what are they doing? And one of the things that get me about the Community Reinvestment Act is a lot of times they're supplying like in kind. Like we're volunteer to go to a school. We're volunteer to do some of these things to kind of make ourselves look good, like we're complying with the CRA Act. but we need some hard dollars, right? We need some hard dollars in our community. So listen, we're almost 9 o'clock. I told you it go by so fast. But I want you to do this. I want you to, Kevin, I want you to tell people, and I know this, you're in North Carolina, so, and it's Carolina small business, right? So do you guys also service South Carolina, or is it just North Carolina?
We right now we service North Carolina right now.
North Carolina. So if I'm a business owner and I'm sitting here and I'm listening to this, what are some of the resources? What are some of the capital, the funding? What's available to me as a small business owner? And the other thing I want to say to those of you who may not be in North Carolina is there's the resources that Kevin is about to talk about that are here. It's probably available in your state too.
Yep.
You got to just seek out your Kevin, okay? So you can find out where you can get this stuff. So Kevin, tell us what would you do? What do you advise?
Here is an immediate resource. If you let me say generally, we lend, right? We lend, we provide technical assistance, we do policy and research. We do loans generally between 8 and 12%, and we do loans between $5,000 and $250,000. We work with business owners that have credit scores as low as 620. So that's another thing that differentiates us from a large commercial bank. But here's an immediate opportunity. I told you that, at our core, while at our core we are a lender, we also administer grant and loan programs. And one key grant program that we're administering right now is called Renewal, and we're working on that with the National Institute for Minority and Economic Development. We are partnering to work on behalf of the North Carolina Department of Administration and the Department of Transportation. And what we're doing is we're getting small business grants out to certified, historically underutilized businesses or hub businesses or disadvantaged business enterprises or DBEs. And we have grants that will basically, and we're relaunching this program on Monday. So Monday, 10 a.m., we are relaunching this program, and it can provide grants for up to the average monthly expenses, up to 4 months of those, or up to $25,000, whichever's less. So this is a great opportunity for a small business to get some of that free money I talked about. But again, look at Carolina Small Business Development Fund as a resource beyond that. So if you need additional capital, the grant is great to help plug some holes. But let's say your business that has made it strongly through the pandemic and you want to scale. We can supplement that capital with a low interest loan if you qualify and really help your business scale and not just survive the pandemic, but thrive in spite of it. So that's Retool NC. And I'm going to put, so Tony, I put my contact information earlier in the private chat. Will that get to the group, or do I need to?
Yeah, Chris, if you could post that for the group, even on screen in the chat. Absolutely. So
I have a question for Kevin.
Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
Kevin, so you have these the grant dollars for small businesses of 4 months of working capital, which is great. But if businesses want to supplement with debt,
right?
Do you have a program for them to learn how to manage the debt in their business?
Yes.
Okay. So that they're spending those funds on the things that's actually going to scale their business rather than like, oh, I got a payday. You know what I'm saying? And buying, investing in frivolous things.
That's the concern with PPP money. That was concerned with stimulus checks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you're talking about stimulus checks, $1,400 and all that kind of stuff. And people were spending that on things that really didn't do anything for them long term.
Right.
And sometimes we have accepted these Band-Aids as cures, and they're not. It's just a Band-Aid to get us to where we need to be so that we're healthy business enterprise. So
right.
Go ahead and talk about it. I didn't mean to.
No problem. No, it's a fantastic question. And the answer is yes. And we deliver technical assistance through a variety of means. We have what we call business solutions officers who effectively provide coaching, and that is to loan applicants and also our existing customers. And really they may help you with financials, help you, direct you to maybe marketing resources. We're not experts on everything, but what we also have is a good network of other types of organizations like the
service providers.
Right, service providers who can help guide a business in the right way. But what I'm very excited about is the fact that we have designed small business assessment tools. We designed a counseling form. We have something called the Digital Learning Academy. We basically have a library on our website of curated material, could be instruction from our staff, could be instruction from partners that really talk to businesses, and they can basically access it 24 hours, 7 days a week. If you're a small business owner, you have, you've been working all day, you have a family, you come home, need to, sort of spend time with your family. Sometimes it's hard to work on your business.
Right.
In your business.
It's in the business, but not on the business. Absolutely.
So what the Digital Learning Academy allows you to do is really just hit that, go on that website, self-paced, take the courses you need. It's free. And we offer that as a service on our website. So we've got a lot of different ways, and when things open back up, we'll go back to doing a lot more. And we're doing a little bit of it now, but we'll be doing a lot more one-on-one in-person coaching, helping people walk through step-by-step what our loan application looks like, what's required to really qualify. So we're very excited about the ways that we can supplement the financial assistance and then really tell the story through our policy and research and marketing and communications. So there's a lot going on at Carolina Small Business. We could probably do about 10 of these shows and just talk about systemically and then get down to the nitty gritty. So I'm sorry I got so excited earlier.
No, you good, man. That's why you're here. That's why you're here, Kevin. That's why you're here. Right. Listen, here's the thing. So if someone wanted to apply for the the Retool NC grant, they could do that. There's a link on your website, I'm assuming, to be able to do that. But real quick, what's the criteria? Okay,
let me give you. So the link will be live by Monday at 10. Okay, September 27th at 10. Criteria, just going to give you some general ones. You must be certified as either a hub or a DBE.
Yeah. Okay.
In fact,
listen, and for those of you who don't know, if you're not certified, you need to get certified. You need to get your hub certification. Listen, LaPronda was on earlier. She's an expert at doing it. We got county resources that are available to do it, and all of those type of things to get your certification. So you got to be certified.
That's right. You got to be certified. Your business has to have. I'm trying to bring up this this flyer here so I can show you. Let's see if I can bring it up. So if everyone can see that. So basically, like I said, opens Monday, September 27th at 10 a.m. If you are a business, if the first letter of your business starts with A through K, you go through the National Institute for Minority Economic Development, which you see right here. Mm-hmm. If your business starts with L through Z, you go through Carolina Small Business Development Fund, which is our organization. Here are some other criteria. You cannot have previously received any Retool NC funds. So we're looking for only new grantees. Your business had to have been operational at least since 2019. must be certified with NC Hub or NCDOT, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, or DBE. It must be an independent business located within North Carolina, which will be shown, proven based upon a Secretary of State, registration. So you need to prove that you're registered in North Carolina. The business must have fewer than 50 employees. That can include sole proprietorships, home-based businesses, or independent contractors.
Nice.
Annual revenues must be less than 1.5 million. Have to be up to date with your state income taxes and have no active bankruptcies or tax liens. And there's some paperwork that I won't go too heavily into detail, but it's not too overly extensive. We'll ask for tax returns, we'll ask for a recent bank statement, proof of certification, also proof that the business is domiciled in North Carolina. Here is some contact information for Hub certification. So you can apply even if you're not certified, but you're not going to get funded if you're not. You've got to get that certification.
People, right. That is so key. That is awesome. Listen, you don't even have to receive your certification yet.
Right.
You can apply with your certification pending.
Right.
Listen, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
And then you see the grants of up to $25,000, or 4 months of operating expenses as determined by your tax return. Okay.
Got it.
We're looking at what your average monthly operating expenses were. Validate that through the tax return. Not too difficult. If you're a legitimate certified business, these are things that you should have, right? And then we're looking for an August bank statement just to prove you're still in business. And so we have a place to put the money.
Right?
And you got to be able to receive the money. So Kevin, the source of these funds for the retooling grant where's the source of those funds?
The source of it is the federal government. So
okay.
It started.
And I wanted you to say that because I wanted people in Ohio, Michigan, everywhere to understand that these funds for this NC retooling grant is federal funds.
Right.
And last I knew, 50 states were part of the federal government. So my point is that you have something available in your state. You just got to seek it out. You got to call your county. You got to look for foundation, development funds. You got to seek it out so that you can take advantage of this in your respective
in
state.
Michigan, there's the Michigan Economic Development Fund. They gave out grants last year. They may be giving out grants again this year as well. Right. Yeah.
And sometimes they use CDFI. So I have talked to some of my counterparts in other states, and they're administering the same types of programs for these governments. Now, it's not going to be called Retool, right?
It could be something different
in the various states. But here's the key thing, too. These monies came under the CARES Act. The state of North Carolina had extra money that it had not spent. So we did a round of Retool last fall. The Institute and Carolina Small Business actually did 688 grants in 9 weeks, $13.5 million. So average grant 19,000. So now we're looking for a new batch of businesses that are also certified through Hub or DBE, and these monies are going to expire in December. So it's first come, first serve. I know that I think what we're looking at maybe ending by November 15th, or funds, or whenever funds are exhausted.
Run out. Yeah.
But just know that when we start getting into the holidays, if you haven't applied, you could be out of
some of y'all. It opened up at 10 a.m. You gonna be listen at 9:59. Have the website in your web bar so you can hit enter and go ahead and get this thing done, right? And I thank LaPronda for being on tonight, and she just put in the chat box that Cabarrus County is open now. And so Cabarrus County, just north of I think parts of Concord, some of those type of places, Kannapolis, maybe Cabarrus County, but some of those places are open now. Go ahead and take advantage of it and be a part of it. Kevin, man, listen, it's after 9 o'clock already. Listen, man, you brought a wealth of knowledge, and I hope if nothing else, people leave with this. I hope people leave encouraged to know that there is help, that you're not alone, right? Mm-hmm. And even when all of this CARES Act and the HEROES Act and all this stimulus money is gone away, that there's still going to be a Carolina Small Business Development Fund that can help small businesses scale and get some information. And so, man, I appreciate you coming in. It was kind of last minute, but we worked this thing out, and you just brought so much good information. And so, okay, LaPrana asked a question: do you have to apply in the county of your residence?
It's a statewide program, so you're applying through Carolina Small Business Development Fund or the Institute, just depending upon what letter of the alphabet your business starts with. So where you are county wise, it doesn't matter. You're applying for one of those two organizations.
Got it. So if my business is domiciled in North Carolina, I can go through Cabarrus County, right? Oh, I'm sorry. LaPrana didn't ask that. I'm sorry. That was my girl Lisa. That's Lisa McKinney right there. And JR,
you wouldn't go through your county at all. You would go through one of our organizations, just depending upon what letter your business starts with. So this one is not a county-based program at all. It's a state program.
Thank you guys for keeping me straight over there in the chat box. I'm just reading, man. I'm just reading the comments. So great. So listen, again, we thank you for being here. We got some great business owners that are listening and hopefully can take advantage of this. And I'll tell you guys, we went through Real Money Coach. We went through the Hub certification. It's not that difficult. It's really not that difficult. And so just make sure that you're out there, you get this information. Remember, on the 27th, which is Monday, 10 a.m., it opens up. Be a part of it. Let's go ahead and get that. Let me see. And so one of the questions there, let me just do this for you real quick, Kevin. Mm-hmm. She said, how do you get money if you just started your business? Right. So when you're saying that the business has to be since 2019, does that mean it's registered? Does it mean that it's been Hub? Well, it's not Hub certified. You just told us that. So what about the new business? What about the new business that's just starting?
Right. So absolutely new businesses. I mean, generally it's not uncommon to have to fund, out of your pocket for a while. There are a few resources. There's an organization called NC Idea that funds startups. Yep. So NCIDEA, may want to look into them. Once in a while there will be, startup grants, programs where they have pitch competitions where you can sort of go through a program, go through classes, learn how to really pitch your business, build an infrastructure. And sometimes there'll be pitch competitions at the end of it. Those are a few sources. I really urge, anyone who's just starting, make sure you have your infrastructure in place. Mm-hmm. Make sure you have a business plan. There are a lot of free courses that you can take at the community college. And I know what I'm saying isn't cold, hard cash, but the technical assistance, trust me, is going to be worth even more to some degree than initial money or initial cash you may get. So take advantage of those programs at your local community college. They help with business plan writing, for example. And there's other service providers in the communities that can help with that kind of thing too.
Yeah, so you got to be in position. You got to be ready for the capital. Yeah. So it's like, and we talk about the 5 C's, credit and all those type of things as well. So, and we've done some classes with Hub. We've done some classes with DOT. about just getting ready for capital, be in the position so that you can apply for capital. And so those things are important, making sure you got your financial statements right, you know, all those type of things. So once again, Kevin, I guess we got to cut this thing off. We keep on going, man. But you know, I appreciate it. Michelle, any last words that you have that you want to share, or anything?
I mean, Kevin really said it all. Okay, if you guys are in North Carolina, this is what I would do between now and Monday. 2019 tax return, 2019 P&L, like your hub certification, have it all up on your computer at 10 a.m. And so when you click that button, you got all your information.
In recent bank, don't
what was that, Kevin?
I was saying, don't forget your most recent bank statement. We're looking for
most recent bank statement.
August 2021 bank statements.
Prove that you're still around. Prove that you're still in business.
Get it already now. Don't wait till
we got nothing else to do this weekend.
Yeah.
Let's get it ready. Let's get ready to go.
The Panthers are playing tonight, so you got all weekend.
Right, you ain't watching the Panthers on Sunday. You know, after Michigan play on Saturday, you ain't got nothing else to do. Right.
By the way, I can't believe you're from Lansing and you don't like Michigan State. I'm
not from Lansing. I'm not from Lansing. I live close to Lansing. And we, you know, sometimes we're house divided, but you know, we all could find, you know, you can't, everybody can't be, you know, intelligent. So, you know, whatever. But, you know, I do want to say this though. Let me tell you, all my Spartan friends, Sparty has come back. Mel Tucker is doing a great job with that team. And so I give respect where respect is due, right? He's doing a great job. And I'm looking for the showdown that's going to happen at the end of November when the maize and blue and the green and white clash up there in East Lansing. So anyway, we're not going to talk about football tonight, but it was a great show. Listen, everybody, I hope you got this information, and by all means, spread the word. And if you have some questions, Kevin's email is in the chat. You know how to get a hold of us at info@therealmoneycoach. If we can put you in touch with somebody, a Michelle, a LaPronda, or Kevin, that can help you get those things going, answer those questions for you, email us. We'll forward it on to the right places. And again, just thank you. It's been another great show. Real Money Coach. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you next week at 8 p.m. on Thursday. Have a good evening. Stay blessed.